Hello my loyal companions and welcome back to another video on the channel. In this episode of Rogue Revealed, the series where I take you through everything you need to know about Rogue Company, I'm going to be breaking down one of the characters called Glitch. If you do enjoy the video, make sure you do drop a like and subscribe to the channel to see more content. But let's get into the video. As always, I'm going to be breaking down the rogue's role within the game. I'm going to be going over their weapons, abilities and perks. Then I'm going to be looking at some different upgrade routes you can go with them, before finally giving you some tips to best maximise your gameplay with them. As for Glitch's role within the game, I think he's probably one of the most unique and high skill capped rogues there is. This is because of all the different ways you can play him, but also his ability can be used in multiple different circumstances for multiple different purposes, and you need to be able to use that effectively. His weapons are built for close range, so he tends to kind of be this sort of technological assassin is the way I've been describing him. This is because he can use his perks and abilities to sort of maneuver around the map silently, get good flanks off, or just disrupt the team in different ways. Due to his massive versatility, he can work with attack and defense, and you need to decide how you want to play him. I will say, however, getting an idea of the core basic mechanics of the game first is best before you actually start delving into Glitch, because as I said, he is quite a high skill capped rogue. What that means is that it means you have to be quite good to play him effectively and to the best of his ability. At the end of the day, yes, he can just shoot and you can get kills that way, but to maximise him to the best of his abilities, you need to be pretty good in the core itself. Having a little look at Glitch within game, he's one of the world's most notorious hackers. Glitch uses his skills in technology to win battles. His passive is Intuition, where he detects nearby enemy equipment even through walls. These are things like Anvil Barricade or Ronin Ballistic Knife. You can see them, they come up with this red outline so you know where they are. This actually feeds onto his main ability, which is Hack, which when you activate, you can then detect nearby enemy signals and infiltrate their systems. Now, this has a lot of different uses, but basically what it does is if there is an enemy equipment, such as an Anvil Barricade, it will break it. When you use Glitch's ability, if you are able to tag a player with it, you disorientate them a little bit. You go over their screen, and it becomes a bit of a nuisance for them to have around. It's not the most effective against players, but if you can get it off, it may help. One thing you can do with Glitch's ability is when you open it up, so you press your buttons, you bring out this little device that you can see him holding here, and it tells you what is in your local radius. So on the minimap you'll see a big blue circle and everything in that radius will come up as something you may be able to detect and hack. This is really useful for telling you if enemies are close by, because what it does is it says, okay, in this area there is an Anvil Barricade, there is a Ronin Ballistic Knife, but there's also a Lancer somewhere in here, meaning you know in that circle around you, Lancer is somewhere to be seen. And that can be really good if you're getting a flanking position and you're unsure about where people are. You can use it as a little bit of a gauge to see if people are nearby. Going into his weapons, he is very close range focused, and that starts off with the SKL6 shotgun. It's a destructive pump action shotgun, the same one Shaq has, and as you upgrade it, you increase its magazine size from 5 to 8, then you increase its damage range, then increase its hipfire accuracy. His other primary weapon is the LMP-X, which is statistically one of the best SMGs in the game for damage, handling, and its range is pretty good too. It has a 30 round magazine size, but as you upgrade it, you increase that magazine size to 40. You then increase its damage range and then increase its aim down sight accuracy. So not hip fire, just when aiming down sight. His pistol is the Executioner. As you upgrade it, you increase its magazine size and its hip fire accuracy and recoil. Melee weapon, he has the baseball bat. As you upgrade it, you increase its lunge distance and its swing damage. As for his gadgets, you have two options: the flashbang, which temporarily blinds enemies within its blast radius. As you increase this, you increase the throw distance and the amount you can hold by 1. Other than that, you have the Semtex, which is a grenade that sticks to surfaces and people before exploding. This, when you upgrade it, increases its throw speed and its explosion radius. Now, moving on to his perks, these are all really useful for him. The first one is Padded Steps, which silences the sounds of your footsteps when you're not sprinting, so walking or crouching. Then you have Evade, which after being damaged increases your movement speed for a short duration. Then you have Bounce Back, which reduces your health regeneration delay, so you heal quicker between taking shots. Then you have Nimble Hands, which increases your weapon swap and reload speed. Then his big perks are Sixth Sense, which means you get notified when an enemy is looking at you within 25 meters. And you have Tracker Rounds, which when damaging an enemy with a firearm will reveal them to your team. Normally in these guides I give you a tier list of what I think the best perks are, but honestly I don't think there is one for Glitch. All of them can be really useful, and you shouldn't prioritize one or the other like always. You should just look at what matters most in game. I'd say the most useless one is Sixth Sense, but even then it is high value. I would rather personally get Tracker Rounds than Sixth Sense, but if you can get it at some point in the game, it's worth it. but potentially prioritize these other ones first. In terms of weapons, I personally prefer the SMG. The shotgun is really viable, and it is just personal preference and maybe a bit of map preference, but the SMG for me is the best and more consistent. The pistol, as you guys know, I don't really rate, I don't upgrade, and the baseball bat I don't use. As for the gadgets, flashbang is the one I tend to go for here. Semtex can be useful, but honestly, flashbang, given Glitch's playstyle, flanking, trying to get in positions, is a little bit more useful. Now we're going to move on to the different upgrade routes you can go with Glitch, and this is where it becomes a little bit more complicated due to how versatile and how difficult he can be to use effectively. And round one is where you feel this the most because there's so many options. I'll go through the different options and try and explain when it might be best to use it. So the first option for me is to buy a flashbang, and I would use this if I knew I was going to have to be pushing through lines of defenses quite a lot, or in quite close corners where a flashbang can be most useful. If I wanted to get a flashbang, I would opt for potentially one of the perks, either padded footsteps so that I would be silent as I walk around. This I would use if I was knowing I was going to flank, so if I had quite a defensive team comp and I was potentially the only flanker in there, I would make it padded footsteps. Or if I know I had to sit back and sort of defend with my team, then I would probably go for evade, so that if I do get shot at, I can reposition quickly and maybe survive the gunfight. The other option you can go, and this I do lean to a lot more, is actually just to not buy anything on the first round and save it to get upgrades for your weapon. Those are the main upgrade routes I would suggest because I don't really rate the pistol and getting points into that. As for upgrading into the further rounds, you want to be getting as many points into your shotgun as possible if that's the primary weapon you're choosing. When it's maxed out is when it's at its most effective, so you should be prioritizing that first. If you're using the SMG, it's slightly different. I would suggest always getting the first upgrade as soon as possible because a bit of extra magazine size never hurts. But for the last two upgrades, I definitely recommend getting them, but you should only get them if you're getting them at the same time. So if you've got 10,000 to spend on both of them, that's what would be my recommendation. And it's most cost efficient if you get them both at the same time because they both help your aim down sight range and damage. In the meantime, say you don't have the 10,000 to get those two combined, if you only have say 7,000 or 8,000, I would look at getting some more perks and building up that way. Perks are really, really key for Glitch, so you should be looking at getting them and building up his portfolio of them as quickly as possible. Once you do have your fully maxed out weapons, you should then just be spending money on perks. I wouldn't really upgrade the flashbangs, you can if you want to, but saving rounds then for getting the better perks is really what will make him most effective. The reason I said at the start that you should only really play Glitch if you already got good basic mechanics at the game is because of how versatile he really is and how you should choose which perks you need. More experienced players will know the different circumstances they're like to face on a different map or against a different comp and will be able to plan around that with the perks accordingly, and that's what Glitch needs. He has a lot of good perks, but optimizing them is really, really important. At some point I will do advanced guides for all these rows, but I'll break down that a little bit more, so if that is something you want to see, drop a comment below to let me know. Now moving on to some tips for Glitch, I'm going to start with my first one, which is to know your role within the round. As I keep saying, Glitch is really versatile. He has loads of different options you can do. You can be this sort of technological assassin going around and flanking, or you can sit with your team, hold down a position and hold down a corner at really close range with his SMG. You need to figure out based on your comp whether you need to be on the bomb site waiting and trying to disrupt enemies that way to stop their push, or whether you need to be the one going around and flanking. Putting yourself in a bad position as Glitch is really detrimental to yourself and your team, so you need to be figuring out where you are most effective. That will come with game knowledge and experience, which is again what I'm saying, wait till you get a bit better at the basic mechanics before playing Glitch. Moving on to tip number 2 is to open your ability up as much as possible. Check that gadget, check to see if people are nearby, scan the area, and make sure you know what's going on around you. Glitch's ability is one where you don't have to just use it just because you press the buttons. You can then holster it again and use it at a different time, but just opening it up will give you a lot more information than anything else. You don't actually have to use the ability and hack something once you've activated it. You can just get some information from it. You should be using this to find out enemy positions and also see if there's anything worth hacking nearby that maybe you haven't picked up on due to your passive. But moving on to tip number 3, you need to be really careful not to get caught out hacking something or holding your ability out rather than your weapon when enemies start pushing or when an enemy comes around the corner. You need to be really sure of your surroundings or be really sure that you have a teammate there to cover your flank as you do it. My 4th tip for you guys is actually to use your ability mostly on destroying enemy equipment and gadgets. It can be okay on players, but it doesn't do the most or most effective thing. So waiting to destroy an anvil barricade, like literally it just pops open and exposes whoever's hiding behind it, or using it to destroy a ballistic knife from Ronin to stop that explosion going off and potentially killing a teammate on a flank, or using it for any other purpose just to disrupt something that could be detrimental to your team is so much more valuable than using it just to hack an enemy and disorientate them. You've got to be really sure when you're using it that you're using it in the most effective time, and this will come with experience. My final final tip for you guys is to trust in your weapon. Both of them hit really hard and are good weapons. So make sure you're using them, make sure you're using them at the appropriate ranges, which is close range. You want to be using the third person peeked really effectively to stand around a corner, wait for an enemy to pop by and then attack them. So when you are in a fight, be really sure of yourself and be really confident that you are going to win it, because as long as you can hit them, hit the body shots, hit some headshots, you're going to melt them really quickly. Just be aware that it doesn't have the best hip fire spread, so just be careful of that. Okay then guys, that takes us to the end of the video and the end of this guide for Glitch. I hope you've been able to take something away from it, and if you have, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more Rogue Revealed content. You can also follow me on twitch.tv/BradTharGaming to see live commentaries and also ask questions about the different rogues or about different elements of the game in general. I'm there to really interact with you guys and communicate about anything you want to know. Other than that guys, hope you have a fantastic day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.